Hi, everyone. Welcome to Domain Sherpa, and thank you for tuning in to the podcast with the best domain name and digital asset content in the world. Today's episode is a Domain Sherpa review titled .ai Domains, Changing the Game or More of the Same, featuring Andy Booth, James Booth, Josh, and Drew. So on today's show, we forego the domain game and name check and a jet segments that we typically do, and instead focus on .ai domain names, as Andy and James have made some domain industry headlines recently with some of their big .ai domain sales and purchases. Drew has taken on a more bearish position on .ai domains, so we brought everybody on the show today to talk about it. We learned some of the history about how Andy and James got started in the domain space. Then we do a deep dive into .ai domains to better clarify everybody's opinions and plans and see where the Sherpas agree and where they disagree. One takeaway is that there's actually more common ground than you think, and there's no question that we're seeing the impact of AI everywhere, and the domain space is no exception. So get your popcorn ready and tune in, because you do not want to miss this. And remember, we've got the ICA meeting coming up in Vegas, January 17th to the 20th. So please get registered and booked and all that good stuff. And if you're not a member yet, please handle that. And also remember, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can also watch the video version at DomainSherpa.com and on our YouTube channel at ds.tv. You can also listen to the shows on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. So make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button everywhere that you can, and help Domain Sherpa grow the pie. And we're also integrating our shows with Muse.ai, which provides new search functionality for the shows and transcripts as well. So definitely check all that out. And last but not least, big shout out to Dan.com, the #1 place in the world to buy and sell your domains, with a special platform made for domain investors. With that, it's now time to get into this episode of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. So let's go. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. Jayon, a.k.a. Sherpa Winfrey, a.k.a. John Burgundy, and I'm the host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is going to be a good one. We're going to technically call it a Domain Sherpa review, but we're going to do it a little bit different than usual. We're going to talk about AI domains and .ai domains with none other than the Booth brothers and the one and only Josh Reason. And we got Drew here too. Let me break down really quick the way our segments are going to work. We got our grand opening. That's where I'll intro the Sherpas, see what's good with them. We'll talk about some related things, maybe some unrelated things, maybe drop some AKAs. Segment 2, we're not doing the domain game. Instead, like I said, we're going to talk about AI domains, .ai domains, and some good stuff, and find out what the Booth's been up to. Maybe even get a little history on the brothers. And then segment 3, we got name check and a jet. If we get to it, we do have a list of name jet domains to talk about. If not, we can push that to our holiday show next week. And then last but not least, we got grand closing, where we'll discuss anything we haven't covered already, what's going on in the domain space, looking at the market trends, current events, allowing our guests to mention and promote anything they want to talk about that we have not already discussed. All right, with that, let's go ahead and introduce the Sherpas. I'm going to kind of bounce it around a little bit. Normally, I'd go around the horn. I'm going to do it a little bit different. I want to do it in a particular order. So first off, over to my left, I'm going to introduce my boy Andrew Rosner, a.k.a. Morpheus, a.k.a. the Dirk Diggler, Digital Assets, a.k.a. Bob Lee Swagger, the Sniper, a.k.a. Drew. Drew got what I need, a.k.a. Never going to give Drew up. What's good? Graybeard, the domain pirate, is in the house. What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for today's show.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
We got legends. We got the legends.
We do, man. We do. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Sherpa, is that we have the opportunity to bring on folks like the Booth brothers to talk about really dope stuff. Guys who've really done it for real. That's the
Booth
cool thing too.
Major and Booth Minor.
No, hey man. Oh, I could use that. Which one's which? You'll find out in the AKAs. I'm gonna add those in right now. You know,
that's the goal. The whole goal of the show is to at the end of the show, we're going to determine who's the major, who's the minor.
Oh, there you go. I like that. But no, hey, look, I mean, the domain space is not a big space, and we've got the luxury and the pleasure of having done business with some of the best and literally like in the world. Those are the people that we deal with and talk to and interface with, and and that's what's happening today. So let's keep it moving. I'm gonna go lower right, I guess, down to my boy Josh Reason, aka Bjorn Borg, aka Prince Harry, aka Harry Kane, aka Prince Harry Kane, aka Slim Shady, aka Mr. Pickle. What's up, man? What's happening?
What's up, man?
What's up? He's got a Christmas tree. You're
That was
downstairs
very
today, man.
anticlimactic.
I know. Well, he was like, he came off that pretty, but he's in a different room of the house today. So he's downstairs. I see that.
I like the wainscoting.
Yeah.
No, Drew is refined, man. I would have just been like, oh, I like the wall. He got into the, he's like, oh, that's some HGTV shit right there. All right,
you got some teal. You got some teal wainscoting up in there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's aesthetically pleasing.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, let's go now. On to the real, the reason we're here. You know what I'm saying? The special guest. All right, down below me to my left, we got the one and only Andy Booth, aka Andy Murray, aka paid guy way high on AI, aka Allen Iverson, the answer, aka Haley Joel Osment. Because if you remember the movie Artificial Intelligence, set in a futuristic society, the film stars Osmond as David, a childlike android uniquely programmed with the ability to love. You know what I'm saying? AKA Mr. Robot, AKA 360. What's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
I was worried about that, man. Andy Murray, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong Booth brother. He's not here. That's my older brother. He is Andy Murray to a T. But I'll take it.
That's what's up, man. Well, welcome to the show, dude. Very, very appreciative of you taking the time to be here. And then last but not least, over to my right, we got James Booth, aka Jude Law, aka Tom Hardy, aka Dubai Low, Sell High, aka Baby Booth, aka Booth Minor. I don't know. I just threw that one in. But hey, we got the Booth brothers, aka Booth. There it is, aka Fire in the Booth. Big shout out to Charlie Sloth and Snap Capone. What is going on, boys? What's happening?
Excited for the show.
Yeah. Well, look, so let's dive right into it. So basically, like we said, you guys have been killing it lately with .ai domains. On a recent show or two, Drew has talked a little bit about his position on .ai domains. He's not as bullish, although he gives a lot of props and really is recognized and acknowledged that a lot of it is timing. But, you guys are really, really all in. You've been doing some posting about it, which I think is some really interesting, poignant stuff. I'm kind of in the middle, and I think that no matter what, there's so much opportunity and AI is eating the world. And it's really interesting to see the way it's all playing out. And, and super cool to see you guys killing it with some big sales. So let's kind of dive right into that. Cause like I said, that's what the,
hold on. Before we go right into the AI domains, I want to take it back because I think a lot of our listeners, may be following these guys on Twitter, maybe hearing about recent buys and recent sales. You recently sold tiger.com. Congratulations. You've been making some big .ai domain acquisitions. Probably many people have seen, some haven't. We'll get into that. But I mean, I think we should take it back because Andy specifically got into the domain industry before I did. And I would be the first to say that I think Andy is the single greatest hunter, for lack of a better word, in the domain industry that I've ever witnessed. I don't think I've ever found anybody that was able to go out into the darkness of, blind who is and, find dead people, as I like to say, like really get out there, shake the tree. Yeah. Shake the tree, 99% of everybody else is looking at that same apple tree and they're thinking, that apple tree's been picked over. But Andy will go shake that tree and a ripe, juicy apple will fall out of that tree. And he does it over and over again in the same way he was doing it, 15 years ago. He's doing it today. And he's still finding those ripe apples. It's getting a little harder maybe. And maybe there's, it's fewer and fewer. But the value of the names are worth much more than they used to be. And so I think it's important to, let's take it back. Let's talk about, how did you come into the domain industry? We're not going to harp on this too much, but how did you suddenly show up in the domain industry? And then why did you choose that path? I've always said there is a role for everybody in the domain industry, like in any industry. If you're interested in this industry, there's a role for you. It might be in customer service at GoDaddy, or it might be in hunting domains, or it might be in reselling domains, it might be in flipping domains, it might be long-term investment, could be building a business. There's a lot of different ways to be in this industry. So why did you pick your role and how did you get here?
Yes, my friend. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Right. So I'll try to keep this as simple as possible because I have a tendency, I'm with my medical condition to kind of go off on one. So let me start off. I'm a technologist. I've always loved the computer, and this is where me and Manly, or as I call him, in a nice kind of way, in a brotherly, loving kind of way. That nickname has stuck around for a while, by the way.
Manly is James, for those that don't
Manly
know.
is
Oh
James.
man, why did I not know this? Okay, I'm gonna add. I'm just gonna keep
He
adding to the list.
he's always exhibited manly qualities. Anyway,
Well, he looked like
very
an adolescent young boy until a couple of years ago.
That's
That's
a positive.
The domain
That's a
industry
positive.
had to put a little hair on him.
Exactly. He's eating his crust now. Anyway, rewinding. So I've always been, one with the machine, which a lot of these people, in domain names and technology and artificial intelligence, this is what they all have in their DNA. And I always, in my spare time, I wasn't a loser. I've always been not a popular kid either, but I was sporty, athletic. I love my football. But by the same token, I wanted to kind of have my own space. I've always been a bit of a loner. I'm pretty selective when it comes to friends. I trust a handful of people, which is maybe where me and James differ. So I always love things like, I've gone to GeoCities. We were kids and we used to trade Pokemon cards. So I thought, hey, we've got the internet now. It's the dial-up modem, it was slow. I was like, let's use this as a platform to the world. And we had some of these rare Pokemon cards and we were selling them, to people in Norway from a GeoCities page. And it was like, we were getting sent Scottish 20-quid bills, from their holiday. And I was like, this works. So then it became to me because, my one talent, I was decent at mathematics. I was never a particularly outstanding academic, but I was really good at English. So my friends used to call me a word monger or a word connoisseur. And it was true because I would be the prick using bigger words than needed to be said. So basically, I'd have a grip on the language, and the meaning of deeper words to really kind of express your point. So, branding to me has always been fundamental. And, and for the GeoCities aspects of things, it was like, make it easy, make it accessible. And then from there, it kind of morphed. Like I said, I was into sports. I was inspired by, as in, like Mark Goriapi by wrestling, man. I used to love the WWF during the WWF Attitude era. The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. These guys, larger than life. That's what got me into American culture. I thought it was amazing. And, I started a website and I wanted a simple website. And I called myself wwf.pro.com. So that was kind of like, we're going back now to 99. Like I'm almost 40 now. I'm 40 in July. So we're talking back to when I was like 16, I guess. Is that right? Going back like 24 years. 24 years.
Yeah.
So that's when I first started getting into this website thing. And it was really to make money, like both me and James always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit about us. And it was through that I used to write articles. I used to be about plugging my website, through bigger websites. There used to be a major WWF website called Raja WWF. And it then sort of became Raja.com. That's a story in itself. The guy traded it for a motorcycle. Today that looks insane for Raja.com. So for a $3,000 motorcycle. Anyway,
this is Roger, Roger.
Raja. He was an Indian fella.
Oh, Raja. Okay, Raja.
Right, he ran Rajah. So
okay.
yeah, the typical spelling. So he ran like it was massive. Like you got to understand how popular WWF was across the world. And Teresa might be able to relate to me, you know, like even in his day, it was mega. Like,
no, for me it was
on
huge. I was
English
a
TV.
massive fan of WWF. You know,
Yeah,
now WWE, but at that time it was WWF.
right,
And it was, you know, I was a huge fan.
You were probably a generation ahead of you, though. Like, so for you, you were Steve, you know, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, The Rock, Undertaker. I was more like Ricky the Dragon, Steamboat. You know, I was Hulk Hogan. That was my shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We
like,
had Andre the Giant.
Iron Sheik. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're talking that real shit.
But I mean, it was guys like The Rock. It was guys like Stone Cold. They injected, you know, the attitude. They injected the charisma, and that was what it was all about. It was a narrative. It was a story, you know, and it was a good one. It was a damn good one. So that got me excited, you know, like getting into that. You know, I had a platform. I was a nobody, you know. All I could do was write. You know, I was a talented writer. And then, as Drew just said, WWF transitioned into WWE. And I registered WWE Wrestling.com, which on the surface doesn't seem like anything. But it was because I'd read an article, which I had to do. I had to scour articles, get sources for content. And I read something that suggested one of the computer games in the early 2000s was WWE. And I was like, well, what? We watched WWF. Like, what's going on? And there was a whole issue going on, as you all know, with WWF and the World Wildlife Fund.
Mm-hmm.
So then I did a little bit more digging because I had to do with database access. And so, hang on, WWE.com was moved to Connecticut, which is where the headquarters. Something's going on here. So then I was like, this time it wasn't GoDaddy. This time it was Direct Nick. So I was registering domains through Direct Nick. Well, it cost me like $15. Long story short, you know, I flipped that domain, even though I was a writer, whatever else, for $1,000 to some fella. And I think he was a fella who founded advertising.com. John somebody, Muriello or something. Maybe I've got the
John. Down in Fort Lauderdale.
Right, John somebody or other.
Yeah.
It was advertising or
Advertise.com, I think, or it might be
something like that.
Yeah.
One of the big advertising.com. I think one of the big boys.
Yeah,
So
he was one of the founders of Domain Holdings, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's related. Exactly. So he understood the power of a great domain. And that, you know, I was a 17-year-old bloke.
John Ferber? Money. Is it John Ferber?
John Ferber.
That's John Ferber. That's the man. It was $1,000, man. And that, I was a college student, and that enabled me and my buddy to interrail across Europe. And it was like, wow, you know, and it didn't fully register.
$1,000 was actually money back then.
Huh?
$1,000
would get you a lot further than it would today.
A lot of money back then, especially to me. But it didn't fully register. But that was like the first moment where I thought there's something here. And then when I went on to university, I kind of paid a bit more attention. It was more to do with the systems. You know, I was into gaming. It was like the PS2. So I think I was anticipating like the PS3. So I was like looking for names like PS3games.com, like before it happened, before it had been confirmed as the PS3, you know, just this foresight, or anticipation, because it's not foresight. It's
just public service announcement. We do not recommend that strategy in the domain.
Exactly.
That would be today. That would be, you know, trademark infringement. Swatting. It's what gives our industry a bad name. So we don't try this at home.
Well, it's similar to Drew. It's similar to Drew's Iberico ham story, where it's like all of a sudden you have this aha moment of recognizing that, hey, domain names have real value and there's a crazy amount of potential here. You know,
People are going to pay
That's
for
it. That's it. And I know there were trademarks, and I was a junior. You got to remember that. So I didn't know, the spectrum, and people say that to this day, So I register McDonald's.ai, and I'm like, no, but only with education and knowing the law that you understand these things.
Yeah,
But like I nearly got tripped up because of that history, and it's certainly not because I was a squatter, but it's because of the ignorance. But like Jonathan just said, like JT just said, it just, it was a step. And it's just recognizing the power that a good domain name brings. So go back to further WWE legal team if you want to take it further.
No. So then when did you start getting involved in like higher value premium stuff? Was it then just sort of a progression up to big names? Like then, you kind of sort of, as you're navigating all that, all of a sudden now, fast forward, like if it's the movie, right? You fast forward 5 years and now it's like, okay, you pulling big names into your portfolio and kind of making that happen.
Right.
And recognizing that, well, and to center it a bit too, real quick, just to center it too, what Drew's point that I thought was fantastic, because it's really neat how he talking about certain people have certain really great skills. Your skill as a hunter, I think is pretty badass. And it's like, so when did that become a thing as far as recognizing like, hey, the real value here for me is trying to find high value domains that are otherwise, trying to pull the diamonds out of the earth, if you will.
Well, that's another good point. And I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, show. Don't follow this at home. But it goes back to trademarks. Like I'm a massive soccer fan. Reason can relate. Reason's a Manchester United fan. This all happened. My first big domain, like after all this, was CristianoRonaldo.com.
Okay.
Now, this was at a time when Ronaldo was brilliant. He was one of the top 5 players in the world. But he'd done something. He was playing in England. Manchester United picked him up, and he was playing alongside arguably a better player. It was an English lad called Wayne Rooney. I'm glad he didn't use me as a likeness there to Wayne Rooney. I would not have appreciated it.
Oh no! Now I have to add you that to the list as possible.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I won't come back. Anyway, so it was during a time like a major tournament. I think Josh will remember, and it was a Rooney Ronaldo kind of. It was Portugal, England. It was a huge game. It was fiery. We needed to win it, and Ronaldo was involved in getting his Manchester United teammate sent off, red carded. So he walked. Portugal won the game, and then Ronaldo had to come back to Manchester in England in English football as a hated man. Now look. This is something that everybody can relate to, Drew, more than anybody. Sometimes hatred or infamy is as powerful as being, that's as long as you can use that energy and harness it right, you're gonna grow, man. That's where you get to number one. You've just got to.
There's only 3 ways. There's 3 ways to lead. You can be feared, you can be loved, or you can be respected.
You should be all.
In a very rare occasion, people have all 3, but usually it's 1 or 2.
So you shouldn't lead with fear. You should lead with love, and then the rest should follow. And the fear should come from wanting to.
I would actually argue it's something I've thought about deeply. I think that you need to utilize fear in order to get to the top. When you get to the top, then you need to transition into love and respect. But I think it is very difficult to break through the natural ceiling of competition in any market without some element of people fearing you because they don't understand how you work, fearing you because you are a unknown variable, or you are a threat, or you are whatever it might be. There are many different forms of fear. But I think that fear is a very powerful tool when you are trying to build yourself or build your business. And then I think you need to transition to love and respect. Otherwise, you will self-implode.
Yeah, I agree with that to a point, man. And it's the unpredictability. The one area that you fall down in life is by boxing people, putting labels on people. As you say, if you have an X factor and there is an unknown component, yeah, I mean, you become mysterious.
Mhm.
You know, guys like Elon Musk, great example. Why has he made the top? Why does he love it? Why do we love it? Why do we fight over Media X? Because, you know, like we're all after that same kind of thing. And that X is mystery. And that
X is
propels you to
everything.
the top. Exactly.
When we got that deal done for X.com for Elon,
Yeah.
I wrote a little note, you know, explaining why I felt that this domain was so important. And in my opinion, the absolute unequivocal number one most valuable domain in the world, and there's not even a close second.
Well, I don't know. Look, as a brand, I would agree. As a brand name, I would agree.
That's not the point. But I said my justification for that was that X is literally everything and nothing at the same time. It is the absolute ultimate variable. There is nothing else like X.com in
Well, I would argue that Zero
dictionary or the alphabet.
Zero.com has similar principles.
But Zero.com will never be allowed for security purposes. They'll never allow
It's a
Zero.com.
number. It's a number. I mean, the Chinese would revere that, but yeah. I mean, there are other factors at play. But I agree with that. I agree that it could be interpreted any which way or the other. But the only one downside, and it's kind of this X videos, the porn side of things. And you don't want to kind of mix serious business with adult. It's one or the other.
That's an interesting point. But let's push back. So kind of revert back. So because I think, and I appreciate you sharing so much of your history.
So let me give my perspective. Let me give my perspective. So I'd say you and I bumped into each other around 07, 08. You'd be pulling these rabbits out of a hat, showing up with some big domain, whether it was a 2-letter.com or a 3-letter.com or a 1-word.com. I think back in the day, you were really hyper focused on the 2s and the 3 letters. And, there was this underbelly of the domain market. I don't even want to say underbelly because, quite frankly, it's where the action was. But there was this group in the domain industry that understood that there was this market for liquid domains, that there was this 1 or 2, 3 categories of domains that were actually liquid. And anybody that was a really active trader in that market understood that there was reasons why, and there was a flow to the market, and there was sort of a floor, and there was sort of a premium that could be applied because of certain factors. And the people that understood this were able to make business every day. We were trading, and so you were before I even ever started really going out and hunting and shaking the tree the way you did. I was buying a lot of these from you.
So
that's how I
just real quick, Andy, just briefly say how you shifted from into the, I would say, the dark side of domain investing that really has no upside, which is trademark infringement, which I think you ended up getting pretty lucky on with Cristiano Ronaldo. I think I talked to you about this, right? How did you then shift from that to, okay, I'm going to start going after these names that have
Got it. Good question. Well framed.
Yeah.
Well framed. Yeah, I was going. So let me just preface this a little bit as well with the Cristiano Ronaldo. My intentions were good. I know it's the dark side of domaining, and it's not a proud thing to talk about, really. But I innocently bought that domain name for £1,000, small money in the, relatively to the time. We're talking 2006. Yeah, 2006. So not that long ago, really, the scheme. We're talking just over 15 years. I went there, I bought the name, used my mum's credit cards, didn't have any money, and I built the website. And it just so happened, information, good intentions. Ronaldo didn't have an official web presence. And one of the guys we all know noticed. It was making ad revenue, which was equivalent to what paid in 1 month. So one of the guys we all know took it off me, said, look, I want your ad revenue. Here you go. Here's the offer. And that's back to Drew and your point, Josh. That's when the 3 letters sort of trading began. Because at that point, I became savvy as to what was going on in terms of the liquidity. And that's the really fundamental liquidity. Because
Totally.
obviously we trade now and we all recognize good brands. That's what we do, and the marketplace has evolved like drastically. But back then, we're talking like the mid 2000s to the late, even maybe for about 10-year period, it was all about liquid 3-letter, 2-letter short domains. And you had like
CVCV also, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, 4
something
letter.
like that. But 3 letters were a lot more prolific.
Totally.
Basically,
And a lot of
2006 to 2016, right? It's that 10-year frame.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Right,
That's
correct,
pretty much right.
correct.
Yep.
So I mean, look, some people will be able to relate on the show, others won't. But this is a period where, the go-to communication venue was DN Forum. DN Forum was brilliant back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like these, I don't know about what's going on with it now. I don't want to weigh into that. But in 2005, DN Forum was excellent. And, there were people offering 3 letters. There was steals in hindsight. I bought booth.com 20K, whatever. Like, how the hell did that happen? And
I got bangers back in the day. I mean, it was crazy. I bought one of my first 2-letter.coms. I bought it on DN Forum for 80 grand.
Sure. I mean, it just wasn't a mature market, but there was a pool of buyers around who'd made it big. And there were guys like Nat Cohen. There was a fella, an Irish guy called Jerry, a very successful fella now called Val Katayev, who founded $100 million businesses out in New York, like mega players. And they were all into this kind of space. And they'd all take your 3-letter for a 5-6K, profit. So I had to start there, I had to start by building up, which you can do today, by the way. It's just not going to be quite the same way. You might start with broker in a high-end name, and then with that capital, you invest in a good name or several good names and flip them, and then that's how you keep the momentum.
Can I pause for 1 second? Because I think this is an important thing for the audience, okay? So when I talk about these different roles in the industry, we're basically outlining a couple of different really clear, proven paths to enter the domain industry, right?
Yeah.
Andy entered by recognizing where the demand was and saying, oh, there are these people who are well capitalized, more capitalized than I am. They want to buy these domains that are 3-letter.coms or 2-letter.coms. And so let me go find them from people who don't know what they're worth and then flip it for a small profit, but meaningful profit to these people who are better capitalized. And then I'm going to accumulate my own capital so that I can then go buy my own inventory eventually, right?
Exactly,
and then I can hold that inventory for the longer term to get the higher amount of gain, such that these people that I was selling to before were getting, right? And then there was me who came in and said, okay, I quickly ran through all my money and was like, wow, this is going to be a very capital intensive thing to do long term. So I need to create. How am I going to create income to keep building a domain portfolio? So I created the brokerage business, and I basically took almost really the first 8-10 years of this domain brokerage business. Everything that wasn't an absolute necessary expense in my own life basically got rolled into buying more domain names, primarily from these two guys.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just wanted to highlight that these are two proven paths to enter the industry and gradually build your capital and ultimately build a portfolio.
Correct. So anyway, back to what I was good at. You just rightly pointed that out. So it was just about scouring the WHOIS database, figuring out, websites that were defunct, websites that were not properly developed, websites that were clearly owned by nerds and they just didn't know what to do with them, like unsophisticated pages. or companies, often redirects, so maybe they made an acquisition of, this group, and it's no longer relevant to their business strategy. They're just like, if you get to the right person, and this again today is critical, it's essential. They were like, okay, yeah, let me take this to the board. It's enough. Even like it might be $8,000, but that to them was material enough.
Yeah.
So then the board would say, yeah, fuck it. Like, for example, a good example, 250.com. I paid like $7,000 for it. And I can't remember the company, 250.com, which funnily enough means idiot in Chinese. Not great, but regardless, it's a pretty memorable 3-number combination. And the reason they had it was because of their company address, literally. They were based on 250 X Avenue. And then I spoke to a lady and she was like, yeah, go on. And all of this while operating out of my little bedsit, 1-bedroom little hovel with a shared shower with a family next door. It was grimy.
Yeah, but I mean, so and a few things about that I think are pretty awesome and I think are worth mentioning. It's like, look, you had a passion for it. You obviously were able to figure out like, hey, a thing that worked, and you were down to do the work. I mean, I think that's the thing that gets lost on a lot of people is that, there are so few things that are going to drive a career, some real meaningful results that where you're not either able to find an angle or some way that you can provide value that someone else can't provide, or if you're not willing to just do the work. And
because no one knew, JT, no one knew.
Yeah,
that was it. Like you had a handful of competitors. Like whereas today you might have 60 or 100 or 300, I don't even know. That back then it was like 4 or 5 guys, and it used to be the same old email addresses. We'd all be emailed from Gmails, and that you had to kind of up your game. And certainly to this day, you do. You've got to kind of present yourself as an entity. Like my brother's good at it. James is good at it. He's a salesperson. He's got a US phone number. It's just these little subtle things make a difference, man. Because people fear, again, what Drew said, what they don't know. So if it's coming in from a Dubai number, or it's like it's fraud, scam.
Yeah, fraud.
That's the American way. If it's coming in from an American number, I'm listening. You're Christian, so am I. Let's talk.
Personality mirroring, it's like that's really funny.
But it's, look, hey, these nuances and just the ability to even pick up on these nuances is literally what sets apart the people who succeed and the people who don't. So basically, look, you started hunting, you're shaking the trees, you're pulling out these amazing 3letter.coms, you're flipping them to guys like me. And, I'm going to say 2013, 14 comes along. That market goes from where we were basically buying, selling, trading these 3 letters in that 5,000 to 10,000 range, maybe 12.
Yeah.
And suddenly these things are 20, 25, 30, 35.
Right.
And that's about the time, if I'm not mistaken, that young James comes into the picture.
And
James,
man.
No, but he was at the time. And James smells blood. He sees that these things are trading like hotcakes. You're cooking because you're out there basically hustling and getting more of these than anybody. So, James, how did you did you say, hey, my brother's soup is
let me interject there, Drew. Like, so I am the computer nerd, and this explains people at conferences of the past. I'm awkward. I'm a nerd by nature. James has got all of that. He's great at pattern recognition. He spots an opportunity. He's always been a business person. And he has the gift of the gab when it comes to sales. So he takes it to another level.
He's the hustler. You're lazy. He's the hustler.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. So I was living in Asia. I was doing wealth management. I lost my job in Manila in the Philippines. And I'm like, what am I?
This is 2000 what?
2015. 15,
okay.
Bloody, that's late. That's late. See, only 8 years ago, man.
Totally.
I was literally about to be homeless, and I messaged Andy, and I'm like, "Please, can you give me some work?" And he's like,
Well, at
"Well,
least
yeah,
you weren't in prison. Our other brother was in prison in Thailand.
Sorry to laugh. Sorry to laugh.
yeah." But yeah, so he was like, "Well, I guess you can find some three-letter.coms for me, and here's the list." I was literally sitting in an internet cafe in Manila for like 12 hours a day, just smashing out emails. And, I think I got a commission in like my first week. And then once I had enough to start buying my own, then I was just buying and flipping and slowly separating from Andy. But obviously we still do stuff together. But, just found my own path, I guess.
That's awesome. So how long do you think it took till you were basically a little bit like more autonomous as far as on your own from when,
As soon as he started realizing he made a hell of a lot more money on his own, he's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
probably like 3 or 4 months.
Oh, damn. All right. So you were like, yo, dog, I know we're brothers, but blood, water, and money. You're like, blood's thicker than water, but money's thicker than everything.
Andy totally understood. I was still
I don't mean that in a bad way either. I think it's like, hey, look, amazing that he gave you the opportunity and helped set the blueprint for you. And then, it's not like there wasn't enough opportunity, especially around that time, 2015, 2016. It wasn't like,
well,
oh, hey.
Let me wrap on that for a second. So from my perspective, because I really enjoy this, I really was excited to have this show because number one, well, I'll wait till Andy's back to say, but at that time when I think you started diverging, and I don't think it was as quick as you're saying. It was 6-12 months after you were in the game helping Andy. You were there, so this basically coincides with the time when Andy and I had a little bit of a butting of heads, but it wasn't really, at least not in my mind. But what happened was it was the evolution as we've been describing. It was like basically Andy went from being the best hunter to he wanted to be the hunter, the butcher, and the retailer. And so, I was the guy that was benefiting from Andy's hunting, and I'm buying these beautiful, trophy animals that Andy has hunted, and I'm buying them from him. I'm buying them from him. And I'm putting them in my shop, right, or my portfolio, and I'm buying them at wholesale prices. I don't even ask, how much of a profit, but he's making a good profit on these things. And so I was buying all this inventory. This was really my primary source of super premium inventory. I had some other guys, and I was doing some of this myself as well. But I'm running a brokerage business, so my focus was the brokerage business. And so this was just a good way for me to get access to a constant flow of fresh inventory that wasn't being out there hoarded around by other, so-called domain brokers. It was stuff that had never been on the market before. These were names that Andy was finding, widows and defunct businesses and, huge corporations that didn't even know they had these or had no purpose for them anymore. And so he was pulling these gems. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. I wish I had it like a notation in my inventory. I'd run off some of the names that I bought from you guys, but man, it would be deep. It's like firefly.com, yellow.com.
Hey, about that. Some dude definitely got fired from Microsoft, didn't he? For selling me those names. Oh, shit.
Oh man. I don't know how it ranks for you, but that had to be like the heist of the century. I was like, I don't know how, probably won't go into too much detail there, but
your deal on Firefly was fucking bananas. Unbelievable.
And so I bought Firefly off you, right? And then I sold that. Well, I sold it. I got.
Is it now?
I don't know what's under NDA. I'm not going to say numbers, but I got I got about mid 6 figures in cash. One shot deal, boom, cash. Yeah. Nice fat. I probably got I don't know somewhere around 2 to 3x in cash, and then probably 3x in cash, and then I got YOLO.com, which we then parlay YOLO.com into a fucking monster. So that sale turned out really well.
Yeah. Firefly just raised like another 500 million.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
for
Drew,
Firefly's for
Drew,
sale. I thought
sorry, Josh, if you want to get rid of me, get Firefly to take me up to space. I'm gone, man.
So, anyways, I just
happy.
wanted to highlight, the transition from Andy went from hunter to hunter gatherer. Okay, and anyways, that was sort of where we ended up with friction. And suddenly, my best source of inventory was going to keep that inventory for himself. And I was sitting there going, stay in your lane. We both had something beautiful here. But at the end of the day, I recognized I was basically trying to suppress Andy from elevating himself. And I'm glad that he broke through that. And I'm glad he is where he is. And I'm glad that we are where we are. But
if you give me a hug, I'll give you MediaX.com.
I'll give you a hug, bro.
Done. That's done.
I'll give you a hug just because. I really have. I love both of you. Both of you have been integral to my own success. And I like to think that I've been helpful in your success.
Of course,
And
man.
I really have looked forward to having this conversation because
that could have all been avoided if you guys just bought the domain on DNWE instead of both being so cheap.
Yeah, right.
It would have all been good. This would never have happened. There would have been
look.
none
Here's
of
the
that
deal,
steam
man.
engine.
In any market, you've got high octane, high
a lot of alpha,
ambition people,
dogs.
right? And we're all just hustling and moving and just shanking just to get ahead and stay alive and make the next deal. And it's a race. And it's great. And honestly, all of that, I don't regret any of it. It's all good. It's all good.
It's on James. Wait, it's on James.
It's the journey.
Yeah, no, I will just say, especially in the early days, like for me, just building that initial capital, that is the hardest
Totally.
time. So once you're more established, then there's less friction between stuff. Like you're not as, the hunger is still there, but you're not gonna lose a friendship over a 10K profit on a name or something like that. It's not worth it.
Oh, come on,
I'd like
Drew.
to-
You fucking word.
Listen, there are days, not anymore, but there were days.
Oh,
Dude,
let me say something real quick.
I'm like, chill out. You just made like 100K from me yesterday. It's like, that was yesterday. Today's another day.
Drew, first of all, let me say a couple. First of all, Drew's made a lot of money from a lot of people. He's probably made like 500K from me and an extra 250 that I just learned about on this phone call. So, so it's all good. On the other side of things, just in regards to Andy, I might have to hop off soon, but I wanted to say this because I think that it summarizes what a lot of people perhaps don't understand about Andy and how he's so successful in what he does right now. And that is, so during that transition period from going from liquid domains to becoming more of a retailer, what Andy does better than anyone is identifies not just the top 0.00001%, but the actual best domains on the planet, bar none. I'm talking top 20 names out there, right? And those names, they always sell. They
have inherent demand.
There's always a buyer for them. So whether that be and I think the same, and he's currently kind of putting those same principles into .ai, which is why what he's doing is working and likely will continue to work, because it's the names that if somebody's going to buy in that extension, they're going to buy that name. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same thing with his success with, tiger.com that he recently sold and other domains, right? So
Josh, this principle more than ever for .ai, but carry on, sorry.
Yeah. So basically what I'm saying is he is willing to pay and able to pay more than anyone even thinks is a reasonable number to pay as a domain investor because he knows that domain will sell. Because it's the absolute cream of the crop. And it's not just your average, this is a good oneword.com. There are lots of, no, it's the domain for so many different big brands out there that it enables you to overpay. And he overpays.
Right.
it's one of those things where, is he actually overpaying? And when you zoom out, maybe not.
And this is a great segue, by the way. This is a perfect segue into the AI conversation. So I think,
but this is why Andy's so good at this. Like that transition from becoming a wholesaler to a retailer.
I couldn't agree more. He literally has, you have people in design who you call an aesthete. Okay, an aesthete is someone. I just recently bought aesthete.com, as a matter of fact, but. An aesthete is somebody who just has an inherent eye, an inherent.
No. It ain't me. It's God. I promise you. It's a force that runs through.
Well, okay. Well, whatever it is, it comes through your fingertips, and he just has a feel. He's got the Ouija board to just put his energy into the best of the best.
MediaOptions is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, MediaOptions offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. MediaOptions believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
So as JT said, it's an amazing transition. Let's go into the AI domains. This is sort of where both of you guys have been
Josh, don't
focusing.
go.
I've been focusing a bunch of.
I got another 5 minutes.
Where you've been focusing a lot of your time, your energy, and your money, which is what makes it interesting. I have been very vocal. I think both of us are probably misunderstood, and so I think this is going to be a great forum to really well communicate our ideas. I don't actually think that you and I really disagree, except for maybe on the long tail. I think at the core, you and I are on the same page. My concern is really for other people, okay? Yeah. As Josh just alluded to, like you are the best of the best at picking the right names. And not only are you that good, but you've already picked the majority. If there were, as I've sort of said in my argument, let me just finish and then I'm going to hand it over to you. In the 2 or 3 episodes of Domain Sherpa where I've gone off on a tangent arguing against .ai, all the reasons why I don't think it's a great way to invest your money, it's primarily because 99% of people aren't going to target those top 100 names that exist or top 50 names that exist that we all know are going to have a buyer at some point, right? Yeah. It's just an absolute. And so, or as close to an absolute as you can have, right? They're going to be targeting the other 100,000 names that are basically a lottery ticket, right? And so when you have high renewal costs and you're going after a bingo card or a lottery ticket, your chances of success, it's not really an investment strategy. It's more like, I think I'm luckier than the next guy, right? Yeah. And so I think it's a path to failure. Now, your whole bingo card is the top, whatever, I don't know how many you got, but it's the 20, the 30 names that we all can agree are definitely going to sell. Maybe there's a few outliers in there, but for the most part, you've got the bangers that we all know are going to sell. It's art.ai, home.ai, cognitive.ai. It's clear. This is where the market moves, right? This is where the buyers will be. And did you overpay? That's yet to be seen. Is the upper limit 250,000? Is it $1 million? What's the upper limit that somebody's willing to pay for an AI? We don't know. We're going to find out. You're probably going to be the guy that finds out. And so, but that only applies to those 20 names, those 30 names, those 50 names that are, infinitely demandable. The last point I'll make is my whole argument does not center around my disbelief in AI. I think that AI is going to be a complete human shifting innovation. Okay. I'm not that convinced with what we've got so far, but the 3 to 5 years from now, the AI that we will have is going to change humanity from top to bottom. Okay. Some for the good, some for the worse, but I think for the most part for the good. All right. Where I think you and I disagree is the number of companies that'll be involved with that, right? The people that are actually every company will be an AI company. My company will be an AI company. Every company will be using AI but there will only be so many companies that actually can generate a revenue and a profit by providing an AI tool to the market, because most of those tools will every 12 months be rolled up as features into the larger models, the 5-10 major players that'll be in the market. And so for that reason, I don't believe that there will be a enormous demand for the AI, except at the inception point of, I'm going to launch this new tool that doesn't exist yet. 12 months later, it's a feature on a larger model. That company no longer exists, or it's an acqui-hire. And so they never get to the stage of getting their B or their C round where they can now afford to pay 500 grand or $1 million for it.
Got it.
That's my argument.
Drew, can I just ask?
Right. Can I?
Like, look at Namecheap, like Richard and Teddy.
Yeah.
Selling all these 2word.ai's 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. And like not just one-offs, like, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I on to that, I think that's wild speculation. I think
so that's my point. That's my point.
I agree.
We've been in this wild speculation phase. My point is that we're either at the top, or maybe it's 6 months from now, but we're towards the top of the wild speculation phase. And in order for these companies to raise money, which is what's going to be required to go forward,
right,
they're going to have to be able to prove that there's a path to making a profit. And I don't think that any of them will do that. There are very few.
But Drew, they don't need the .com to get to raise funds in VC money.
No. Can I come in? So
that's not my point.
Drew, essentially, you're saying, for you, in your mind, there's a cutoff point. You're saying that 1 year maybe like these things kind of become obsolete a little bit. Maybe that, you know, it's not as valuable. Maybe it's not as intrinsic anymore. Maybe it's not the primary offering. That's essentially what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying that AI itself will not be the primary offering. It will be
I know.
Within the business. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're saying that AI will not be the primary. Exactly. That's what my point. I've read a lot of books. I've absorbed a lot of content, you know, like I've never been so passionate about a subject, which is why I am now going on to build businesses. Ironically, you know, like I am not an active domain investor. I'm appearing here on the show when I've probably got the most to offer. However, I'm on my way out of business, really, because I want to be in development. You know, like I've got more to offer there. I've got the energy, I've got the drive. You know, I'm going to be, right now I'm sort of at the bottom of the pyramid, but I know me. And here's the difference with me. I've got the competition, the drive, the edge to rise. And I think I've got something to offer the space. And I think more people should be aware, because it is so impactful, it's so profound, that the bright minds who have energy and something to offer should be looking towards this space, not just to make quick money. And this is one thing that pisses me off a little bit about crypto people, because I think they're some of the cleverest people on planet Earth, and all they do is just talk about
Bitcoin people. You mean Bitcoin people?
Yeah.
Crypto people, not the most intelligent people in the world, but Bitcoin people are
I know.
people in the world.
Spoken like a true BTC maxi right there.
Right, but anyway, back to your point, Drew. So no, like in a year's time, this is the thing in my argument. And look, I respect your opinion. I'm not here to try and impose mine as if it's a superior opinion or whatever. No, this is what AI is. It takes a lot of data points or opinions or whatever else, and it interpolates, and the output is the best. Anyway, this is what the reader or listener should be doing. Critical thinking. That's all I'm asking.
And so that's why we're doing this show is to hear both sides, to hear and understand these different perspectives. And everybody's got to make a decision for themselves about, is my money better invested over here, or is it here? Is this a trend that I should be chasing? Is it too late in the game, or am I still early? You know, and so that's all. We're trying to flush out not even necessarily the right answer. I don't know that there is a right answer. There's a different answer for each person based on their skill set. But you know, I think it's important to just get these different arguments out, and that people have a clear understanding of, you know, you're not just blindly chasing AI domain names. Couldn't be more opposite, right? And I'm not blindly saying that .ai domain names are worthless. Couldn't be more opposite. What I'm saying is that there's a limited pool of domains in the .ai domain extension. that are going to have real demand, that are worth carrying, because you know that there is a high probability of a sale in that 5 to 10 year time horizon.
You
At
thought right.
a multiple that justifies it. And what you're saying is that this is a more secular trend that is not just cyclical, and there is going to be an extended demand for this. There's going to be a wide breadth of companies who benefit from using a .ai domain name as opposed to some other extension.
Yes,
and so,
absolutely.
I think we both agree AI itself is going to be a profound space. It's going to be a profound tool. It's going to be a profound innovation and sector.
Profound
I
is
guess
not the word. Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely going to change the whole base of the earth. As you said,
why are
top to
companies
everything.
Why will most companies, or why will a large number of startups and companies want to either move to or begin with a .ai domain name as opposed to something else?
Because that's the kind of connotation they want to convey. They're cutting edge. They're modern. There's the not just the human component. They're using the machine to augment their product. And here's the thing about AI. You know, this term has been around for 55 plus years. My tutor, my AI tutor, has been in machine learning for 27 years. Obviously, they've seen a lot. This is a term and a concept we're all familiar with, probably all our lives. But it's just like been, sounds cool, Terminator. Like that's the kind of.
Yeah.
Well,
Can I interject? Can I interject real quick? So, I agree with what you just said, but Mike, here's the caveat. I think that there are going to be a lot less companies that are specifically focused on AI, and that being the brunt of their business. Let's say that. So basically, right now, every single company that comes along is like, okay, we're using AI, right? But I think that as that develops, you're still going to have businesses that use AI and have a product that is specialized in AI, and they're working on AI, but they're still a business, and they're still a business, and they still have other components to their business that are not just AI, right?
Understood.
I think that in that scenario, you still prefer to be on a .com.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I agree. But here's the thing, right? Number one, AI is anything but a static technology. Where we're at with AI today, as you all know, is generative. And it is.
But nobody's arguing that. Nobody's arguing.
Right. It's basic. We've not seen anything yet. It's like.
I 100% agree. In fact, I would even argue that what we have today is not even that intelligent. Right. It's extremely analytical. It's a great processor. It's machine learning, but it's not intelligent. It's not.
No. But the person now
doesn't have creative intelligence.
No, but the person now exists within these big companies. Ilya Sutskever, I think his surname is, one prime example. Elon Musk and Larry Page fell out over over employing him. That's a pretty big deal. That should really be quite revealing. And this fella is building neural networks. Of course, on the surface, they're not huge yet. They're still quite small. But the potential for AGI to manifest and build, and even in a positive way, is just revolutionary.
Hey, Josh, hit mute.
Yeah, go on.
All right, yeah, we got him. He had to switch to the mobile as he's on. We're gonna get to watch you work out, do a little pickleball workout.
Go on, son. I want to see this. So back to my point. Sorry, on AI. No, right. We know it's done. The whole definition and perception of it will not be the same today as it is in a year. The hope is that it remains positive. Like, I think we all share that vision and goal. There's obviously the threats that exist within. But it should be used. This is in the hands of really smart guys, so they should be using it for the benefit of humanity. And the way I see it is I'd like for it to remain superficial because, it's easy then and it optimizes processes. Now, why would you choose the .ai? Because it suggests that whatever technology you have, and it generally, like you said, doesn't apply to all businesses. It applies mainly to kind of computer software, kind of where you need to optimize processes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with the .ai domain name, which, by the way, if they register that today, a $500 billion company, they're not just going to say next year, you know what? Nah, it's time to migrate to a .com. They're not going to do that. And I'll give you a great
example. No, and who is not going to do that? Who are you talking about?
Anyone really? Anyone that's kind of where that's using AI as one of.
But that's I guess my whole point is that there's only going to be 5 or 10 companies that are multi-billion-dollar companies that are AI.
They're providing the strength.
AI forward.
I know that's your point. I'm on the opposite side of the fence. It's just those who implement AI. And what that says, what that conveys, and what that represents is that we do things more efficiently, right? And there'll be objections to that. Like, I'm not here to threaten .com in any way, shape, or form. .com is the best. If an AI company can get their .com in the brand without the AI at the end, that's horrible. Look at it. The optics suck. Then they're getting great, perfect, because then they encompass everything. But if you can't do that, and they're not at the stage to do that, .ai is being used by the smartest minds on the planet, and they're happy with that. You can't argue with that, and they're not buying it with the view of 1 year. Yeah, the renewal fees cost about how much one of James's advertisers.
Irrelevant for the end user. The renewal fees are irrelevant for the end user, right, but they are relevant if you're an investor.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So what do you want me to talk about this in regards to an investor, or in regards to where I think it's going in terms of the retail user? Like
both.
Okay. So let's start with the retail user then. So like I said, I mean, there are going to be those who object. There are going to be those who want to keep their companies human-centric. What is life as a civilization without human connection? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there. So we need to retain that human connection. And that means, and I'm sure that the powers that be will regulate enough so humans can serve some element of purpose. Because we need it. I hope so. So the idea and the ideal scenario is that man and machine merge. I don't know in what form that'll come. Like, I'm thinking shorter term because I don't want to make ridiculous predictions. Now, having the AI association is nothing but positive. Not all companies need it. MediaOptions.ai. No. Well, how is an AI solution? Obviously not. Check out, this is the best parallel that James referred to the other day. A company in Paris, right, is like valued at 500 billion, is it, James?
2 billion, I think.
2 billion. And they raised 500.
Yeah.
Okay. Still a lot of money. Anyway, they're using Mistral.ai, M-I-S-T-R.
Yeah, Mistral, yeah.
Right? Look at Mistral.com. It's something to do with surfing. They don't want each other's domain, really. I mean, maybe Mistral.ai would one day want the .com just to kind of like the brand.
They're definitely driving a lot of traffic to that .com, I can tell you that.
I understand your point, but that dynamic is changing. And mate, you know me over the years, right? And nothing's changed in that regard. I am a .com maxi, and I've never seen or felt anything as important in terms of a compared to .com as .ai. Not close.
That's why we're on today, because I really want to dive in and understand where your head is at and what, because one thing I can tell you is that, if Joe Blow shows up is like, oh, .ai is the next thing, I just hit delete, right? I just thought, but when you are basically, look, I am out of the market. I'm 100% diving headfirst into the, into the .ai pool. It gives me pause and it makes me really rethink my theses and rethink the way I look at, the internet and domain names and, where's the puck going?
So real quick,
James, are you as all in on .ai as your brother?
I mean, I have a bit of a different strategy. So I have been buying the ones that you both recommend not to buy, but I am doing research on those two words to make sure that there's AI companies out there that are on the .io, that are on something else, even the .com, because if eventually they might want to have the .ai, and if I'm spending $140 in an auction for a 2-word, I get 2 years, until the next renewal. So I'm playing both strategies. I've got many oneword.com, oneword.ais, and a hell of a lot of 2 words. But I like to take risks. So
in terms of your total investment, what percentage of, let's say, whatever your portfolio, if you take a snapshot of your portfolio today, whole portfolio,
okay,
what percentage is .ai in terms of investment, not number of names, but in terms of capital investment?
10%.
Yeah, I'd say similar to me.
10%.
And this is capital invested, not number of domains.
Yeah. Capital invested, 10% AI, 20%.
Me similar.
20% IO, and the rest .com.
All right. Quick question. So
do you wish you had sold some of those IOs when I called the top on IO market?
No, I just sold 11.io for 121 grand. I just sold Hero.io for 125 grand.
Nice. Very well done.
So I think that brings up a couple of things that I've got on my list as far as subtopics. So first of all, I think that, what's really interesting when we talk about this AI, and it's not even AI versus .com, it's AI as sort of this next wave or this wave that's happening right now. I think you guys come from a really interesting place of authority because you have such a strong .com history and portfolio of .com. So obviously you're in on .com, right? It's not even a question of that.
Sure,
I saw a post that you posted on Twitter, Andy, where you really kind of broke down, pretty articulately sort of where you're at. How much of this, though, is being driven for you with the .ai stuff based on the companies and the buyers that you're seeing versus the fact that you are so in on the technology? Because the one thing I think is interesting is you're doing some building and development around this, which, on some of the biggest, best names that you actually have, you're not even selling them, you're building them. So how much is bullish on the tech versus what you're actually seeing in the market?
That's a good question. And let me kind of angle this a bit more toward domain investors, because after all, that's who's watching this show. So like Drew said, don't waste your money. And I've tried to articulate this so many times on Twitter. Not everyone reads, not everyone's capable of recognizing quality. This is the thing.
Yes.
This is the biggest thing. It's the biggest component of being a successful domain investor. Recognizing simple, iconic, relevant terms. Relevance huge. And you might get lucky. There are outliers. And this is where people get confused. Like,
totally.
Data points come in. And then people are like, well, surely now this is worth more than... No, it was just lucky.
Yeah,
people get confused.
Yeah,
but I'm not pushing people into .ai unless you can get serious, scientific, very relevant to the field words or brands, simple brands.
Like you can encrypt and encryption, the ones that we just picked up, something that's relevant to AI.
But for example, I'd avoid fluff. Whereas, trying to think of a good example.
We had a conversation during the so real quick. This will segue. Wait. This will segue into a few things. So one, the .ai auctions is probably not even worth. Not a great idea even to tell everybody about the .ai auctions because then it's just going to add competition, right? The next time the prices are all going to go up.
Right.
But so one of the names that was happening. So we weren't going to get into too much of the detail there, but but there was a name Headroom.ai, right? Headroom.
Sorry, what?
The domain that we were having, this was a Drew and I conversation. Having the domain was Headroom, right? Like just the term Headroom. Headroom.
Like headspace.
Kind of like head. Exactly. That's what.
No, it's not kind of like headspace.
What's headroom? I've never heard the term.
Headroom is you get into a car. How much space do you have between the top of your head and the ceiling?
Right.
It's worthless. Headspace. Whole game. Headspace is the thoughts that you're capable of maintaining in your mind at any given point.
This is amazing, but I've never heard of headroom in my life. You're talking about
and that's kind of this was the point. This was the conversation we were having, and I think it is the differentiation between terms and why it matters. Now, I will throw in that Max Headroom, and maybe this was before your time, was a character that was part of there was maybe a Pepsi campaign. He was the first AI generated character, or was supposed to be an AI generated character from back. This was like in the 90s. And he was like, so if you Google Max Headroom, you'll see what I'm talking about. But then that led to a conversation where that name popped up in one of these auctions, and Drew was like, the name's worthless, because the term's worthless, and I thought, that makes sense because headroom really is meant for more of like, oh, I'm buying a car for a tall person, maybe not so much for small guys like yourselves, but for a tall guy like me, you know what I'm saying? I'm just fucking with you, but
I know that's all you are, man.
How much space you have in the car is called like headroom. Guy like Shaq, is concerned about that when he's trying to jump into a Tesla. But again, headspace is a term that's in the lexicon, that's out there. It means something. It's techie. It's Silicon Valley.
That's it.
That's
the feel I'm talking.
Yeah.
This is AI. This is a computer. It's a machine. It optimizes processes. Done by, butterfly.ai, even though that is huge, this is the point I'm making. Done by, I don't know, thistle.ai. It just ain't going to work.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about it. Be mindful of what terms are going to work in .ai. That's it. Yeah. For example, me and James picked up efficient.ai. Everyone's going to want an efficient AI.
Yeah, I saw that one. We talked about that. That's
for energy, for whatever else. It makes sense.
I like butterfly.ai though. That shit is actually kind of fire.
Each to your own, man. Each to your own. I mean, there are exceptions, Like I said, avoid the soft terms, and then Google come along and call it Gemini. Like a star sign. So what the hell do I know?
Yeah.
But I would heed caution, especially on these two worders, unless it's like a good one of open source, like,
sure.
All right, which AI is open source now? But, you've just got to employ a bit of critical thinking. And the most important thing, and Drew would reinforce this, or Josh certainly would, but he's gone. These names are not liquid. You're right.
Yeah.
It's like, right now, and this is where the magic happens. This is what people on the show have to understand as well. This is where also it's the dangerous part. We're in the shark's tank, but it's also where the magic happens. And you have to be in that place and take those risks to see the huge returns. And if you're not, and it's understandable, if you don't have the means, don't do it. You're not going to be able to have that fallback unless you get the very, very strong and cream of the crop kind of names to vindicate that kind of investment. The market structure does not exist, and it will exist. Like I've heard, I'm not going to name any names. I've heard 4 7-figure sales happening, and I'm sure many more, because like a lot of these top end .ai names, hoarders. It's like 4 or 5 people. Igor's one. Not sure his surname. You've got a Chinese guy who Shane knows. And if you go to audio.ai, you'll see the guy, and he's annoyingly, he owns most of the best. And this guy, the story goes from a Chinese friend we have, he was struggling to pay the renewal fee. He nearly dropped them all. You know,
Really went
this is
bankrupt.
something, you know, this AI registry had been around from the mid to late 90s.
Mhm.
Some of these people have been renewing this for years on years, year on year, you know, and that's a lot of money. And in that kind of volume, you're taking a hell of a chance. This guy, this Chinese guy now, I've heard, has made way over 10 million, tens of millions. He's not declaring the names, he's selling. He's actually flipped the script, and as shitty as his website is, he is buying, right?
So he's buying more.
Should I say anything more? He's a buyer with all of the inventory he has. Do you need to know any more information? I've heard that at least 4 7-figure sales. I've not been told what. I'd speculate that Dharmesh was one with Agent.ai, which is one of the best, by the way. Just so relevant. Assistant is .ai is owned by Google. Amazing. What a name. And the list goes on. You know, there's so many like killer generics in the hands of the big boys, and they're not stupid. And you know, this is happening all the time, every day. But you know, on other platforms, but direct. You know, I saw a show where you guys went back to the Q3 results, and it was like, well, you know, nothing noteworthy. No, Q3, nothing was going on. I don't even think it had registered to me in Q3. The time it registered to me was in a Discord chat, and I bought, because I'm a .com maxi like everyone else. I had bought totalai.com on a GoDaddy closeout, and I was proud of myself. I was like, wow, what a cool name, totalai.com. You know, I could see this working. AI's beginning to gain some traction. Like, I didn't know anything about the subject, really. And then Josh Reason, who is kind of very much on the fence, like some of you are, he said, well, why don't you buy total.ai? And I was like a foreign concept to me. And I was just like, I looked at them side by side, and I was like, yeah. Like, and then you went to total.ai and it resonated, and it was like end user hands. And I was like, it's way better. Like, we know AI is commercial. You don't need the com aspect. Look, the masses go to the .com. I get it.
If a company decides that AI is baked into their brand, I'm with you 100%. The .ai looks way better than AI.com. Okay?
Yeah.
No question about that. My point is, again, just that I think that .ai or putting AI into your brand becomes redundant when the technology becomes ubiquitous.
No,
but
why with the tech? We've just picked up on this, you know, Mistral.com, MediaOptions.
No, but look, we had the thing with IO, we had it with XYZ. So, you know, every industry wants to separate itself because it distinguishes.
All right, wait, let them tell.
Comparable.
Maybe not in scale. Maybe
what
not
makes
in
them different? Is it just because AI is so much of a force?
The scope.
Yeah.
Like,
come on,
JT, please. Finance is a speck, a tiny speck, and crypto is a speck, or quite a big one of finance.
Well, hold on. Finance is not a spec. Finance is quite literally the second largest industry on Earth, and when you include derivatives, it's the largest industry on the planet.
Right,
only
I'm not
second, and it's energy.
All right, what's the most fundamental aspects of life?
Energy.
Health as a human being. You know, there are so many areas that eclipse money. I know everyone here is on the show to make money. I get it. But there are other aspects of life that people overlook.
No doubt.
They're more important.
No doubt.
But, you know, like IO represent the crypto, represent the blockchain. Great. You know, it served its purpose and it's still relevant, as illustrated by James. But AI is a monster. So, you know the film Prometheus, right?
Mm-hmm.
AI's Prometheus. We're the little human.
I mean, you know,
and actually, at a much larger scale. and its intelligence and its physicality are just monstrous, and we're looking at it. And we're about to give birth to, and because it's the opposite in Prometheus. We derive from them. It's the opposite, and we're about to give birth.
Maybe.
If the singularity takes place, that's another. We're not.
But so look, here's the deal. I mean, let's be ridiculous for a second. Let's extrapolate out to the singularity, right? In that event, okay, we're in this age of abundance. That means that there's going to be very few people starting new businesses. It means that it literally means that there will be a handful of companies. Period. Full stop. There will be a handful of entrepreneurs. That's it, right? And so.
True.
It literally making my argument for me is that I believe that you are 100% right. I just don't believe that there will be a large scope of companies who identify as an AI company, because I think that we actually start the opposite. Most industries start with the narrow end of the funnel and they expand. And I think AI actually starts with this wide breadth of ideas and innovations and companies. And they actually get rolled up and it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. And there may be, hopefully it's never one, because if there's one, then we're in trouble. Hopefully there will always be competition among these. But I think, we're 5 or 10 might even be too many.
Right. So here you go. Here's the thing, I'm thinking short term because of the impending impact of AI. I'm thinking as a short to mid-term investor, right? So I'm thinking maybe the next 2 to 3 years. And then in an ideal world for me, the way I see things going, where AI remains superficial, where AI remains intrinsic, it optimizes systems, it has a positive connotation. In terms of the domain name, it obviously saves 3 characters. Amazing. That's how people want it. Shorter, more memorable. It's a global recognized term already. I know there are legislative issues because it's Anguilla. I wouldn't worry about that. Same with .io. There's been lots of bullshit stories circulating. Nothing ever happens because, and especially with AI, there's so much firepower. There's so much money. And like you've said, Drew, the power is, the pendulum is shifting towards these huge corporations, and the notion behind AI is that it's going to create abundance, infinite energy, and in theory, a playing field level, right? Which essentially you'd think would dissolve democracy. It would, it would empower these corporations so much beyond, they would struggle for purpose.
Yeah.
But then what? It wouldn't matter, because I think if in that scenario that you're describing, hopefully it's quite a long way away, but domain names are redundant. Like you said, there's no companies. There's no need. Capitalism is gone. Capitalism's gone. The capitalism right now, which we thrive on, is the only system that works, in my view. Politically.
I'm a capitalist through and through. I mean, you'd be hard pressed. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody more diehard capitalist. I have had my blood in capital.
It works. Look at the fall of Russia. Look at the fall of Russia. And here's the thing.
But I don't actually think we fortunately we don't operate in a world of capitalism. We operate in something a little more dystopian than that. But listen, I couldn't agree with you more. But again, I don't see how any of this creates a very large playing field of lots of AI companies.
Right. Well, as I said, I'm a short to midterm investor, and that's And you are going to see. I can guarantee you, I'll stick my reputation, everything on the line. I'm not. Well,
you put your money. Again,
I'll put my money on this
because you are not somebody that's on the sidelines playing, armchair quarterback. You are putting your money where your mouth is. You're investing, you said on Twitter, you paid 6 figures to get home.ai, 6 figures to get art.ai, 6 figures to get cognitive.ai, right? You are putting your money where your mouth is. You are taking the risk where 99.9% of the other people are not willing to go, right? That is what I did. Everybody, you go back and watch episodes of this show 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when I would tell people what I paid to buy some domain name, probably bought it off you. And, I'd have Jane going, I just watched DomainSherpa. You didn't tell them you bought it from me, or I'd have Jack K going, man, you just talked about this huge domain acquisition you made. You didn't tell them that I'm the one that got it for you. But people would tell me I was crazy for paying those numbers. Turns out I wasn't crazy because somebody else paid 10x what I paid, right? So I'm with you, and you're going to win here. I'm 100% confident.
Yeah.
I don't believe that everybody else, though, is going to win buying hundreds of these things. I think that's a loser's game.
What makes you the investor that you are is because you're not the kind of guy who goes, hang on, I just got to discuss this with my wife or whatever. These kind of people that just doesn't
I've said it before, but these are the guys that actually know. Is there anybody in this industry that pays faster?
No, exactly.
Or makes a decision faster? I don't think about this shit.
No,
you hit me with a name, I just know, oh my God, that is the name I need. That's the price. Maybe we went back and forth once or twice, but it's like, that's the name, that's the price. Yes, I want that on my side of the ledger. Give it to me.
You made it to the top, not for coincidence. You have a God-given intuition and you execute. That's the difference, right? And this is what I'm trying to say about AI. We're in that territory now where people are not sure, well, Drew said this, someone else says this, I can't decide. But this is where the magic happens. And it
100%.
Kind of win huge this has got to be capital you can afford to lose. I've never pushed another agenda, right? Be cautious out there, but AI is like nothing before. I can promise you, I'll put my reputation on the line here.
Here's what I'll say. I generally am very certain in my views. I'm very willing to change my mind when presented with, evidence. Very, very flexible about, I love the saying, strong opinions loosely held, right? Great saying. So that being said, literally, I don't know if there's anybody else in the domain industry, and this applies to both of you, that have a more common set of characteristics about understanding what makes a great domain name. Like if JT sent the three of us a list, we should have thought about this. It would have been super interesting. Sent us a list of 100 domains.
We'll find
pull a list of 100 domains, send it to the three of us, and say, what are the best 3 domains in this list? I guarantee you that two out of the 3 would overlap between all of us.
100%. Absolutely.
And I don't know if there's anybody else that I would say, I know the 3 of us are going to identify I know exactly which names we're going to choose, right? And they're going to overlap. So it's hard for me to be in this position where I disagree, but I have to say, look, I'm certain you're going to be right. I think you're going to win here on this and all your AI names that you're acquiring.
It's not about me winning. I'm not here to win. Honestly, my mission now in terms of what I offer, in terms of content, not to pump my own back. As you know, I'm going all in on a business because I think that's where to go. And I don't care if people
look, that is winning. If you're doing what you want to do, that's winning, right? So
yeah.
Let me just add, people saying that you're trying to bump your own bags. You have 15 domains. How is that?
That's not.
Wow, hold on. I've never said that. I've never even.
No, you haven't. You haven't.
Zero.
But Drew, you're right. Look, here's the thing as well, and the point that needs to be made on .ai. There will be the really high numbers commanded for the best ones, huge, 7 digits, maybe 8 for the best .ai. I'm telling you. For example, and this is not to blow my own trumpet, home.com, home.ai. You're not expecting anything remotely similar. art.com, art.ai, you're not expecting it to remotely similar. Have you seen I don't know if you guys have seen like some of the AI art that's being done every day on my feed? It's bonkers. And it's literally the potential is a little bit of a threat to artists, and that kind of sucks. There'll always be a demand for traditional art. You want the Mona Lisa, you would want like some sort of, you love art, Drew. You'd want some sort of, relic on your wall, and to say, explain the history. I know AI art doesn't have that, but the potential is literally limitless. It's all about prompts and the use of prompts, and it could be 13 words. And 13 words in the right order is like almost like encrypting your ledger.
Yep.
That's creativity. So anything's gonna generate from this. And this is just a small component of what's to come. This is scary. This is just the generative part. Wait until you get to the cognitive part, which is like, Tesla, the autonomy. We're not quite there yet.
I'm with you again, 100%. I think we conflate different things. Okay. So
hold
let's
on,
just stick with art for a second.
James, what were you saying?
Sorry, James.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here for you, bro.
Ask you, Drew, like to the point of what would you say is better out of like get a certain word.com or the one word.ai, like for nomos.ai that I just brokered or acquired, like they had getnomos.com, or is nomos.ai better?
It depends what they do.
Well,
I mean,
depends what they do. That's right. Context.
An AI company, but is having the two-word.com better than the one word.ai?
No, not now. Again, that's what Drew said. Depends what they do. And it depends on their long-term goals.
And are these companies, you think, because AI is so big and again, eating the world, that then things like email leakage and security, some of the reasons why folks don't want to be on a non-com in the first place, right? Is this going to be big enough for enough big companies spending enough money to ignore that? You're saying yes?
It already is.
Well, and that's what I think is super interesting, is the fact that we're seeing these big sales. And look, when things happen in a wave and, and things are a hype cycle and stuff like that, we see the activity. But this feels bigger, right? This feels bigger to you than all that.
So JT. So it's never going to achieve the kind of mainstream effect that .com has. You're not going to go around shopping and, seeing all these website advertisements .ai. But no, I'm not saying that. It's a different animal. But for the right companies, for the right software companies, for the brains, the really clever people who are producing the best products on planet Earth, which will set the standard for everything else, they're going to use the AI, because the machine, they're working with the machine, and it's a critical component of it. For a regular shop or something like Mistral.com, or like our
or brick and mortar or whatever, like anything like
Sherpa, that. Just .com. Like for a regular business. I'm not out here to say, fuck, sell your .com. We should be worried. No, your .com is always going to be the number one, right? But there are so many software companies coming along now producing amazing things. And they are aware. These are the best people in Silicon Valley. They understand the power of a domain. Yeah. If they don't, their VC fund or advisor will tell them. And these guys, and the proof is in the pudding. I used a graphic recently. Most of them are using the .ai. Why? I don't know. But it's this, when your competitor is doing something, guess what? You emulate, you copy.
Yeah, well, and I think that's an interesting point too. And we talked about this on a team call that we had, a MediaOptions internal team with Chris and Matthew and Billy and Drew and myself, and going over. And it may have been from your Twitter feed. I don't know where the top 50 companies, generative AI products, and
someone told me this.
What's that?
Someone actually tipped me off. So I can't take the credit.
No, but I mean, it was interesting because as you go through that list and you realize that, that it is largely, I didn't, some of the ones, any ones that are actually showing their domain name is a .ai for the most part. There's a .io in the mix. There's a there's a few others, but it's like there aren't any that are actually something.com, which I think is interesting. They're all either .ai or they're just whatever their brand name is. You know what I mean? And I think that's an interesting
Which was the
thing.
point I was making earlier, is that it only makes sense to use a .ai or to put AI on the end of your name if you are baking that into your brand. Is that your brand?
If that's
Right?
your,
If that's your brand,
primary offering,
then all for it, 100%. If you can get the .com and forward that, even better,
Yeah.
right? 100%.
I'm not
No
disagreeing
question
with that
about
at all. I'm not
100%.
disagreeing with that at all.
But if it's not in your brand, if you want to call yourself, Red Apple, and you are redapple.ai, but you're running around saying you're Red Apple, you're causing yourself problems that you may or may not be aware of. But you
Well,
are
it
bleeding
depends,
traffic,
Drew.
you're
It
doing
depends.
email, you're doing a lot of you're creating confusion, and you're creating friction.
Well, and I would think too, the Red Apple, that's a soft name, kind of like what you said before, Andy. I think that's a perfect example
I'm just
of
pulling
that.
a random.
Wait, James.
Yeah, Drew, let me ask you a question. Do you think IO is dead?
No, I don't think it's dead, but it's like it's like somebody trying to run an Olympic race on crutches. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have a chance.
But it has its place.
Yeah, so you've seen some
among people that run races on crutches. Sure.
Oh, come on. I mean, if I was a startup and I just raised, say,
there is a 0% chance that there will ever be a company that prefers .io over .com. Okay,
obviously,
there is an argument. There's a legitimate argument to be made that maybe in certain circumstances there is a company that prefers to have a .ai rather than a .com because they are AI forward. They're an AI company, pure, right? And there's an argument you've made that they want to have .ai over their .com. I will accept that company can exist. Okay, that argument exists and it's valid, and it's not just a cop out. It's actually a valid. There's nobody that has a .io that prefers to have .io over .com. Zero. There's nobody.
I agree.
It is always going to be a second choice. And I have said this before, but I will reiterate because it's a very important point that most people still don't get, even though I've said it 2 or 3 times on here. The moment you understand that something is a second choice or a third choice, okay, it is limited. It has a organic ceiling that will never be penetrated. And that gravity, that ceiling, the gravity is created by whatever's in first position. So you are always going to be subjected and constrained by whatever's in the first position. And the moment you get too close to whatever's in the first position in terms of your price, you're going to get rejected out of the universe and, blow up in a supernova. You're done. You're freaking done, right? Because nobody, there's a limit of 10%, maybe it's 15% of what somebody's willing to pay based on what's in the first position. So as long as you understand that what you're investing in is always going to be in second position or third position,
right?
Then you have to understand 2 things. One is that you're limited on what you will ever be able to charge, and 2 is that there will always be a competitor to you, and you're limited by what is my next best option. And what is that cost?
Drew. I'm a bit worried about you. You're such a clever guy. I'm a little bit concerned that your thinking is too linear. It's not flexible enough. We're entering into unprecedented times.
I don't think I'm a particularly linear thinker. I'm one of the few people I understood Bitcoin in 2012.
No, I know, but I think that's what Andy's saying. Actually, not to put real quick. Time out. I got to moderate this a little bit. First of all, James was trying to say something, so we're going to give him the floor here in about 10 seconds. But I think the point that Andy's making is that you are a pretty broad thinker, right? But seeming pretty linear in this piece, right?
Like you've made your mind up. You put your percentages here. What if it's not like that? What if the rules change? Yeah, that's the thing. I know we can only predict the future.
Is this a paradigm shift? I think that's really becomes the big question, right? And that's the thing is this in and to itself a big enough paradigm shift to change the way?
I couldn't see it.
AI is a paradigm shift. No question.
It is.
.ai is.
It is.
Mm.
Well,
Okay,
right.
James,
so
wait, on
pick-
James.
Back
James.
to my point. What I was saying about IO is that it has its place. If I've just raised $2 million, I'm not going to spend $2 million on the .com.
No.
I'd rather spend 200K on the .io.
Well, that's what Drew's saying. Training wheels because you can't afford it.
Yeah. I never said that IO is going to be the first choice. Of course it's
No,
not.
no. Yeah, but James, so hit to my point, right? IO, yeah, it's a niche. It kind of, you usually have to be a blockchain or related to crypto. That's kind of what it implies, input output. IO's different. IO's different because IO does not really describe anything. This is what AI does. It perfectly describes what it does. IO, probably a lot of the users of IO websites have no idea what that actually stands for.
I mean, it's input output, but it's tech startups. They don't have to be AI related.
My point is, it doesn't describe anything. It's just some dude one day said, "Hey,
It's not additive. It's not additive.
And like I'm going to say it means input output, and just cottoned on. Other people cottoned on to that and went with it. AI is not.
The point is, the important point is actually why. Why did they do it? They did it because they didn't want to pay the money for the .com yet.
Yeah.
Right. They couldn't afford to pay the money for the .com yet.
Drew, so
it was it's a bike with training wheels, and then they eventually grow up. And so now again, listen, man, here's the deal. You, James, okay, out there hunting your .ios and picking up these names. Now, occasionally, I think you're overpaying and you got a little outside of your britches, but like for the most part, you're gonna do fine. You're gonna sell your names because you're picking these things up. You're hustling. You're getting them at a good cheap price. And as long as you know that you have to fit it within a certain cubby, meaning, well, the .com is 500 grand. And so like probably the upper limit of this IO name is, 30 to 50 grand. Right. And so as long as you understand that, you're going to keep selling these things. If you're buying the right names, which we know you know how to do, right? You know how to identify what's a good name, right? But the average Joe is just saying, oh, .io is just like the next .com. Let me go buy blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no. None of those things are imply themselves as a tech company or a crypto company.
Right.
So go ahead.
Sorry, Drew. On the broader spectrum, obviously you want your .com. If you want to market your product to the world and your product, applies to the masses. If you want to sell something on a mass scale, of course you want your .com. Like that's not going to change. AI is niche. And it's being run, as I said, by the smartest mind. The smartest products are going to be created, but they're going to change the world. And the consumers of those products, they'll be a bit more limited. The product may cost more or whatever, it'll be a niche, but they're also smart enough to kind of, not need the .ai forced down their throat. We might be going into a paradigm shift. So whereas even potentially, I don't want to scare anyone, whether even the domain doesn't really matter. That's also a slight concern of mine. But I'm talking to investors, and I'm talking in the next 2 to 3 years, short to midterm, and .ai, if you've got the balls for it, will be a great return. But just make sure you get the right ones. Don't buy any old shit. Learn to recognize through people like Drew, through people like JT, through people like my brother, what makes a good brand. Just reason. Talk to these guys. Talk to the knowledgeable, investors who've been there and done that. That's it. That's my advice.
I guess that's literally the best advice you can give, because whatever it is, whether you're an IO, it's understanding the circumstances around that. Okay, I'm limited on my upside based on what the .com might be. And I'm limited, or let's say not limited, but constrained by, who are the buyers for this type of domain. Understanding that, targeting names in that namespace at the right price that represent a sufficient return to justify the renewal fees, justify the carrying cost, justify the length of time it might take to sell it. Same thing applies to AI. Same thing applies to .com. Same thing applies to XYZ or to .club or whatever. Every namespace has a natural set of domains that make the most sense. If you can identify those names, obviously .com has the largest namespace of natural
Yeah, that won't change.
premium names.
It's done.
But
Bitcoin.
each namespace has its place. Each namespace has a core set of names that make sense, that have inherent intrinsic value with or without an end user, right? And so if you can learn to identify that, you can apply it to each of these namespaces. And as a new trend emerges, you can go using those concepts, reapply it as you've done in AI with the same skill set you learned in .com, and you can exploit that and you can make a business for yourself.
Yeah.
I salute you. I think you're going to do amazing with what you've got and in the AI space. I think it's going to be great to get feedback from everybody. I want to ask this question that you just mentioned, though. I want to end on this note.
Let's go.
Everybody discussing this. Probably we all share a similar thought and fear, which is, does AI lead to an irrelevance of domain names? Now, I want to preface this question with, when I was early in the domain space, I came in after you did, Andy, but when you were probably second wave, I was third wave in the domain industry. James is like fourth or fifth wave. Okay. When I came in, very shortly after that, it was like, social media was blowing up commercially, right? It had blown up in the early 2000s socially, but the advertising and the business use of social media was really exploding in that 06, 08, 2010 world. And suddenly I was getting pushback when I'm trying to sell domains, and people would say, this domain is less valuable to me because I can, I'm connecting with my audience, my customers on Facebook. Okay. Yeah. Facebook was the prominent platform at the time. Right. So it was like, I remember, Absolute Vodka was the first one to put a billboard up, and they advertised facebook.com/absolute instead of absolute.com or absolutevodka.com. Right. And I thought, wow, I knew that inherently. I was like, that's stupid. Right. Some portion of their money's promoting Facebook instead of their own thing. Yeah. So I knew it didn't make sense, but still companies were telling me like, no, the value's gone down on domains because now we've got social media. Right. And then people kind of woke up and they realized, then it came apps, right? Then, right out immediately after that, it was, well, your domain's worth less now because I connect with my customers on an app. And I thought, well, once somebody gets a couple hundred apps on their phone, you might as well just be using Google. And I'm not really sure what value you're adding, and it's security issues. And again, inherently, I just knew that argument wasn't right, even if I couldn't identify exactly why. I still believe inherently that even with AI, even with agents and assistants, and with this intermediation of AI, I still think we need domains. I still think it might even be more important. It might even be more important to have a very good domain that's easy to spell, easy to say, that is semantically meaningful. But I'm not solidified in that view. I still lose some sleep thinking about this. I spend a lot of time. I've got an awful lot of my own capital tied up in domain names. I still believe domain names are going to continue to rise in value. Sure. I'm still buying. I just spent 7 figures buying domain names last week. I've just bought, close to 6 figures in domains yesterday. I love domain names. Okay. I still believe in them. But if I'm looking out, 10 years, 15 years, it's very hard to look out that far. It's anybody's guess. But it's important. It's important to look out. Where's the world going? What do you think? What does your instincts tell to you? There's no factual. I'm asking everybody. There's no way to listen. We all know all this is a guess. It is impossible. Not the smartest man on earth cannot tell you. AI itself. I've asked AI. I've asked all the different AIs. I've tried all these different prompts and had long dialogues about where's the internet going. The AI and internet, marriage, is that going to, dilute the value of a domain name? To be honest, so far, all of the AIs basically say that domain names are the bedrock of the internet. They're not going anywhere. We don't see, but AI, current versions of AI actually can't predict the future. They're not very good at looking forward. They're only good at looking backwards, and then extrapolating forward based on history. Okay. But when you're in this inflection point, as we are now, there's no way, there's nobody, and there's no technology that can tell you here's where we're going to be in 10 years. So with all that being said, and all of us are going to probably look stupid, 10 years from now.
No,
But
exactly.
what is it? I'm sure you think about it because you've got your money on the line. I've got my money on the line. JT's got his job on the line. Where are we going? Our domain name's going to be there.
Yeah.
So wait, well, that is a
Andy, you
huge
go first.
question. It's a huge question. And this is why I say, like I'm a short to mid-term investor because I don't have those answers. Because we're staring down the barrel at a technology which is, like I say, it's monstrous. And it's, like look at the change in the last year, even. And look where ChatGPT is going. And this is generative AI, which is the tip of the iceberg. So we can't comprehend where the world's going to be in 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's not even worth speculating. But if it kind of goes into that kind of nature that we discussed, whereby corporations have all the control and there's more of an equal playing field, then it won't matter. Businesses, the system is destroyed. Democracy's gone. So that wouldn't matter. So all of it would be rendered useless. We'd all probably be given UBI, and we'd just live a life, possibly, as bizarre and bonkers as it sounds, maybe in a visa, maybe we'd be in a simulation, our own simulations. And what would that look like? But that's a possibility. It's not something to be completely discounted. But the reality, governments are going to have to mitigate this. They're going to have to control this. We want it so that the mind works with the machine. So it kind of synchronicity. So we get the benefits, the positive benefits from all this technology. But it's going to grow exponentially, which is a concept no one here, not the smartest guy here, cannot comprehend. Like, this is what's scary. And this is why I've never been. This is not a doomer point of view, by the way. I'm positive. I'm optimistic about the future, but it's going to be such a paradigm shift that none of this conversation really matters. Like all that matters is the next 1 to 2 years, and that's all I'm thinking. So,
Ray Kurzweil from Google, Ray Kurzweil, who is the technologist, the futurist for Google.
Yeah. What's his name? Sorry,
Ray Kurzweil.
Oh, he's working for Google, the guy who wrote the Singularity.
Yeah. So he literally, he's been with Google for a very long time as their basically futurist. I don't know.
He owns
I think literally his title is like.
He owns Singularity.com and it's for sale.
Yeah. So Ray Kurzweil says, I believe, and I might be misquoting this, but I think he says 2029 is AGI. AGI arrives in 2029, and 2032 or something like that. We're basically hybrid human machine.
Right. I think that's a positive spin on things. I hope it goes that way.
By the way, he's got an 86% hit rate on his predictions.
I know.
86% success rate on his predictions.
Have you read his book?
I've read parts of it. I have it here somewhere.
He's a genius. I honestly, this last 3 months, I've come out of a head cloud, like brain fog, and this is why I'm able to articulate more clearly my points. But this is a book where you have to be of around 130 or more IQ, or you're just not going to get it. You have to understand physics, mathematics, or it's just going to wash over your head. But yeah, he is one of the top brains, as you said. There's a lot of futurists, and they're all going with AI because they're producing some of the best technology in the world, and that's not going to change. So to conclude, my point is, in the short to mid-term, not .io. James might have a contrarian point. That's, like Drew says, training wheels. You can make money from .io, But the real money is going to be, and it's going to be vindicated in 2024. Forget the data now, it doesn't matter. The real data will come out in 2024. And that will be where the fireworks.
Well, we'll see. You know, everybody get your popcorn ready. But yeah, we're up on time. I think that let me close out a couple of things here. And
well, hold on. I want to hear what James thinks.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Oh, you guys are actually gonna let James talk? Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Sorry, man.
Sorry, I was falling asleep. What was the question?
No, the question is, if we look out whatever time horizon you want, 5 years, 10, let's say 10 years, because 5 years, I think, pretty safe to say domains aren't going anywhere. But let's look out 10 years and beyond. What do you think about the future of domains? Does AI dilute the value of domains? Does it make domains obsolete? What happens with domains in your mind? Are you worried about it?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think much will change. I think, it'll just be a progression of what it is today. I think .com, like you guys are saying, will always be the top dog. AI will have its place. IO probably will be dead in 10 years, but still might have its place.
I admire the tranquility.
No, I mean,
I do. I admire the level-headedness.
I'm not worried that AI is going to ruin human life, and in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think that's going to happen personally. I think AI is going to be a huge part of our lives, like starting now, but in 5 to 10 years, even more so.
Yeah.
But
we've had nuclear weapons, like we've had the capability to, implode. But there's always been someone smart enough to say,
well, we only had a small group of people with the ability to cause all of humanity to implode.
I mean, the alien,
right? But how many nations have nuclear weapons? Maybe 60. But yeah, I know what you mean. But there's been.
Let's not. Yeah. Let's do this because thank you, James. And this is good. And I think without getting into some of the doom and gloom about the potential harm and disaster that can be caused, I think what's interesting and to me, real quick, just to throw in my 2 cents, I always find when you see these memes that are like, oh man, we thought, in 2025, we'd have flying cars and fucking super futuristic cities. And instead we've got people posting fucking dumb dances on TikTok, this is, and fucking these reality shows on Bravo. But yeah, so the capability and all these other things that are possible, we are going to see enormous shifts in the way a lot of things happen. I think that it'll be, some things are going to happen much more quickly than we can imagine. Other things I think will stay relatively sort of static in ways that we will be surprised by as well. And I think that hopefully for our sake, we'll stay ahead of the curve as much as we can. Hopefully a lot of the legacy domain stuff will stay stable so that we can continue to monetize it the way that we do. I think that you guys made some great points. I mean, throughout this entire show, this was great, but you made some really good points, sort of what was kind of as we were concluding where, talking about the different extensions having names that have real value because they have real, users and real buyers. And I think that the difference where a .io, which is a fraction of .com, is one thing versus AI, where it's if the space, the market, the companies are big enough, successful enough, if this is a big enough paradigm shift, what it does is it just creates a bigger buyer base that can justify huge sales, that can also justify bigger buys on the front end. And we say it on the show all the time for domainers, and domain investors, you make money on the buy, not on the sell, but there need to be the buyers there in order to realize it,
So James, can I reinforce that? So this with .ai, quality over quantity. We're not going to see the same volume like .coms. Obviously not. You can't register any.
That's a great way to say it.
Not at all. Just if you can get the quality and like generic, like I'm lucky, home. It redefines the AI component of it, completely redefines everything. If you can pick up generic AIs, you'd be stupid not to, if you can see the potential that exists and how the machine and optimized processes changes the whole view of the field, like health. Imagine health.io, right? Like we're gonna need these insights. And that is going to be a different ball game from health.com, right? Oh, that's just an example.
Yeah, but I think that's a great point. And I think, and we'll leave it with that. Yep, let's leave it with that, because I think that's a great point, which is, and I think that's where there's a lot of overlap and common thinking amongst everybody on here, is that it's really about the specific names, and the quality is really where it's at, and there will be continue to be wins and a lot of opportunity there, because we're still at the very beginning of what AI is capable of doing for humanity and society in general, and that's going to drive a ton of this.
You're going to see some vast sales, some epic AI sales, which will be like, what? Like, you know, like, I don't know, $3 million for a AI. And it'll be public.
Yeah.
But, you know, like on the DN Journal report, you're going to see, I don't know, in the top 100, 87 are .com still. You know, nothing's going to change really in terms of that dynamic. But there will be some absolutely epic AI sales, because this is where the best brains are. This is where the money is going. This is what's going to change the world.
Yeah,
That's
it's exciting, man.
I really don't argue with any of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Bam, we're gonna
Wow, so we're friends now?
We are gonna end with as friends on common ground, in agreement, if you will. A couple quick things. So look, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. This was fantastic. Looking forward to the next one for sure. I want to just give a quick shout out and a reminder for the ICA meetup in Vegas, January 17th. Oh, let's go.
I'm a single man, dude. I might.
Oh, let's go. We're going to have a good time out in Vegas. Another reason for y'all to get signed up.
All AI talk, brother. All AI talk.
Watch out, ladies. Watch out, domain industry ladies.
Let's get it.
I'm all game, man. I'm all open.
Hey, but look, for what it, but to that point, it's going to be a great event. If you're not registered, get registered. If you're not a member, go get your membership on. Make that happen. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to have, there's going to be deals done and all that good stuff. So if you can get there, and we'll see you in Vegas in January with the ICA. Very, very excited about that. Next week, we got our holiday show coming up, which is going to be great. So you'll see some familiar faces there doing what we do, getting ready to end this year, this crazy 2023. So, again, a lot of crazy stuff happening. We are at the cusp of some really interesting
Fasten
things.
your seatbelts, because it's going to be a lot crazier in 2024.
2024, baby.
Hell yeah.
That is the only that's the only prediction about 2024 with which I have an extraordinarily high level of certainty.
Exactly.
It's going to be a lot crazier than anything we've seen yet.
Yeah, I do not disagree. It's going to let's strap out. It's going to be good.
So anyway,
Fasten
all right,
your
guys.
seatbelts.
Well, listen, man, again, appreciate you guys for taking the time. The Booth Brothers
Absolutely.
live.
Long time
direct,
coming.
Drew, Josh Reason, appreciate him taking off early on us, but we still got mad love for our boy. And like I say on every show to the audience, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Without you, there is no us. And we'll keep doing what we do. Y'all keep doing what you do. We're not hard to find. Give us some feedback. We'll post some of this stuff on Twitter. We'll see what some of y'all think based on what we've talked about and what y'all are thinking out there in the world and the domain space and beyond. And otherwise, we'll see everybody next time here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Peace out,
Much
y'all.
love, guys. Keep injecting the energy.
Let's
See
go.
you later.
Let's get it. All right. Peace
Cheers.
out.
Cheers, guys.